we are already applying that or not. If we are, good for you. If you're not, you can learn some more. Let's keep going here. Somebody kicked me out of my sharing. Okay, we're good. All right, so let's go. These are companies that I work with. All these companies. You guys know any of these companies here? Which ones? Do you know? Transamerica? Right. Good. Nice. So collectively, we all know one or two of these companies. Pretty much we know everything. Everybody here, right? Now, these companies plus about 50 others, we work with all those companies. And these are the services they provide. All the way from estate planning to long-term care. Now, let's see this. Preparing for the life journey. That your portfolio has what it takes, right? Or what you need. We're going to see this. And let's see if, once again, we are doing the right things or not. Financial principles of successful people. And when I say successful people, I'm talking about elite and what? The rich people in American society, right? We're going to see some of the principles that they work with. And know that if we keep doing what they do or learn from their ways, we're going to be successful. Look at first principle that they use. Make money, but never lose money. We're going to go details into each of these, though. Are you making money and are you losing it? It's a question for you to answer. Next principle. Never forget what? What's the next principle? Who can tell me? Never forget rule number 1. So that tells you how powerful rule number 1 is, right? Never lose money anytime. So put that there. I'm going to ask you again. Third principle. Management versus no management fees. All these, we're going to look detail into it, all right? Next is what? Inflation. How do they reach? What do they do when it comes to inflation? Avoiding double taxation. This is what we misconstrue, that the rich people don't want to pay their fair share of the taxes. We'll go deeper into that. Flexibility. We're going to talk about that. That is wherever you put your money, how easy it is for you to go get it without a penalty. We'll see that. Then compound interest. Social security. We're going to talk about that. Critical and chronic illness. You know that's the number 1 cause of poverty and bankruptcy in this country, right? I have a surprise for you. Let's see what the rich do when it comes to that. And lastly, we're going to talk about nurse, estate, and the probate court system. Has anybody here gone through the probate court process before? As a summary, depending on where your money or your wealth is stored, on the very day you drop dead in this country, that money temporarily might not be yours until the probate court process is complete. And in the U.S., any state averagely, probate court process takes between 8 to 2 years to complete. So guess what? The question is, will your beneficiaries, your spouse, your kids, what are they going to eat? They got to survive the next day that you're gone, right? So all these, we're going to go depth into it as we go along, right? Now check this out. Financial portfolios, right? Anybody who earns income here in the U.S. has his money tied up coming into one of these accounts or a combination of these, right? Here we're going to talk about everything from 1 through to 11. From checking account all the way through to college funds, because those are monies that are within our control. 12, Social Security. Although it's our money, it's being controlled by the government, so we don't have control over that, right? And then pension. If you have some, pension is almost gone away. But if you have pension, it's controlled by your what? Your employers. So you don't have control over that. And also 14, from where I come from, it's called Susu. I don't know if you know it. Americans call it merry-go-round. So let's say 5 or 6 of us come together and say we agree that each month one person is going to contribute $1,000. So first we'll start with A, B, C, D, E. So A, everybody will contribute. In the first month we give it to C, A. A will take 5K. Then the next month we all come around again. We contribute. B takes it, and we take it in turn. That is what we call Susu. Njangi. The Cameroonians call it Njangi. Nigerians and Ghanaians call it Susu. Some people call it partnership. How do you call it? The bank, okay. The bank away from the bank, right? The permit. Oh, okay. Yeah. So at least you guys have an idea of what I'm talking about. Right. Let's look at the next. First principle. So the next couple of slides, what we're going to talk about is the principle will be on the top line, right? The horizontal line. And then how it affects these financial principles, right? Financial portfolios. So first principle, make money but never lose money. What do we see with our checking accounts? You know, checking accounts attract a little interest, right? It's insignificant though, but it attracts a little interest. So the money that you have in your checking account, in addition to those little interest that it makes, is there any way you can lose that money if you didn't spend it? You don't, right? So that stays right there. You make the money, it will be there for you. But if you don't spend it, it's not going nowhere. The same is true for what? Savings account, right? Same is true for the savings account and CDs too. The money that you put in your CD together with its interest, you don't lose it. Am I correct on that? What about our 401ks? Do we lose it? Sometimes? What's the reason? So you might be leaving home one day and the market will be up 10%. By midday, everything that you made, you might have lost it that day and more. That is the problem. Because 401ks is invested on where? The stock exchange market. So you make money, but there's a bigger tendency of also doing what? Losing money. Which of these portfolios do you have? Let's go around the room real quick. Chief, which of these portfolios do you have? 401k. Of course, you have checking and savings too. So you have 401k and what else? All right, what else you got? We have Roth, IRA, life insurance. So at least you guys get an idea, right? How many people have 401ks here? Mute, I'm sorry. I've unmuted, is that correct? Okay, I'm sorry about that. Is it good now? I'm coming. There you go. All right. So 401k, we know what the issue is, right? You make money, you lose money. The same is true for IRA, right? The same is true for Roth, stocks, and stocks too, right? So all those four are invested in the stock exchange market. You make money, you lose money. We have established that, right? But with index annuities, you never lose money. In life insurance, you don't lose money. Bonds, you don't lose money. Now, college funds. Those are funds we put for our kids' college education, right? In college funds, it's invested on the stock exchange market. So guess what? You make money, you lose money. So now you see all the different buckets that you make money, and the ones that you make money, you don't lose money, and the ones that you make money and you lose money too. You get it? So once again, I'll say to you, choose your bucket. Now, what is the next principle? You remember rule number 2? What is it? Never forget rule number 1. That is how strong rule number 1 is, because rule number 1 is the most important principle of money for them. So we're going to skip that and go to rule number 3. Paying financial advisors management fees. Do you pay anybody money to invest in your checking account? No, right? The same is true for a savings account and a CD. But with the 401k, are you guys aware that you pay management fees for 401k? How much is it? You don't know? You don't pay anything? So you pay 2%. You pay an average of 2% management fees. Now, what is this 2% out of? Of your total amount of money in your portfolio. So think about it. Let's check this out. How long do people work here in the U.S. for? Let's say 30, 40 years, 45. Let's be conservative a little bit. You know it's 45, but let's be conservative. Let's say 30 years. If the whole of the 30 years or 40 or 45 years that you work in the U.S., you have just an average of $100,000 every year. We know it's more than that as you grow older, right? But let's assume it's only $100,000. What is 2% of $100,000? That's $2,000, right? $2,000 per year times how many? Times 30 years. That's $60,000. If you work for 45 years, you're talking about $90,000. So between between $60K to $95,000 is what people are paying to mutual fund managers to manage their 401k. That also means that money is not working for you, true? So now see what you're doing. Even at the end of your retirement, if there is going to be enough money in that 401k bucket for you to even use, that's also a fair game. You might not have it. Think about people who retired just 2 years ago or a year ago. 3 years combined, the past 3 years, people have lost an average of 30% on their portfolio. So think about it. But guess what? These guys are always the true winners, though. Because if you put 100K in here this year, they're going to take 2% of that. Next year, if the money goes down to 90 or 80K, guess what? They're still getting 2% of that 80K. So they are always the true winners. Sometimes it's good for us to look at it from this perspective too, right? Now, the same is true for IRA. IRA, how much do you pay? 2%. Roth, to fund managers, we pay 2%. Stocks, if somebody is managing it for you, that's also 2%. Index annuities, no management fees. Life insurance, no management fees. Bonds, no management fees. College fund, we pay 1%. Once again, choose your bucket. Next principle, inflation. What is inflation? Inflation is the depreciation in the value of a currency. In our case, it's the dollar. That also means because dollar is going down in its value, prices of goods are going up. So, in the U.S., inflation is at 3%. Year-on-year average is 3%. That means if you're saving money somewhere, you have to make an interest rate that is greater than 3% so that you don't lose the value of your money to what? Inflation. Is that correct? Let's check this out. Checking account. We know sometimes majority of people don't believe in the stock exchange market, so they keep money in their checking account, right? Guess what? Checking account, you know how much you make in interest? 0.1%, not even 1%, 0.1%. In your savings account, you make 0.5%. In your CD, you make 1%. Some will give you 2%. Now you can see that the first three that we're talking about, you're making what? Interest rate that is way less than 3%. So now you know that you're losing your money in those buckets to what? Inflation. What about the 401k? Let me ask you, anybody here? How much is the market, what interest is the market going to make this year? Stock exchange market. Somebody can tell me? Okay, maybe this year I've started. What about next year? How much is the market going to make? You don't know. Who knows it? Nobody knows, right? Not even those who work on the market. So see what? The yellow sign you see over there means your money is there, so it's relying on prayers and luck. Am I correct on that? We all do so. We say, hey, man, God, my money is there, man, shoot. I'm 5 years away from retirement. It better be good. But you don't have control. Rich and elite people in our society, they know whatever they do with their money is definite. As Christians here, we might say we don't gamble, right? But there's big time gambling because you don't know. But yet, day in, day out, you keep piling your money in there, though. Just for you to get an analogy of what we are talking about here. Same is true for IRA, Roth, stocks, and Bitcoin. Same thing, right? We don't know. They are all invested on the stock exchange market. Now, index annuities, an average of 5% every year. No negative. Life insurance If you have the right kind, it's 8%, no negatives. Municipal bonds, it's 4%. You see, all those three buckets beat inflation by either 1 point, 2 points, or 5 points. College fund, also invested in stock exchange market. So once again, relies on prayers and luck. Now choose your buckets again. You get it, right? How is it going so far? Deep thoughts and great analysis, right? Next principle, taxes. Whether to pay taxes or not to pay taxes on the interest that we earn in this bucket. We established that our checking account and our savings account give us a little money, right? By way of interest. Nothing much to write home about, though. But when you earn that interest, you got to pay. For those who don't know, hey, during tax season, your bank always sends you a 1099 form, right? They know that you have made some total of $10 or even $5 in interest. You got to pay to IRS. So whether you pay or not, majority of people, us, we just throw it in the trash. But the truth is, they report it. So they'll tell you, Mr. Addo or Mr. Smith earned $10. They reported to IRS already. So whether you computed on your taxes or not, when you file your taxes, they're going to take it away. The amount is so insignificant that we don't know. However, the money coming into your checking or savings account, where is that money coming from, though? The money that is in your checking account, where did it come from? Your paycheck, right? Your job. Haven't you paid taxes on the job already? So now you're paying taxes again when it earned a little interest. You know what it's called? Double taxation. This is one thing the rich are very good about. And as you can see, you see what they do. So checking, savings, and CDs, they follow the same format. What about 401k? 401k, everything in that bucket is not even taxed at all. You haven't paid taxes. We put in pre-tax dollars. Am I correct? So now the whole bucket is going to be taxed. Now, that is when you retire and you start drawing. Is that correct? Now let me ask you a question. Taxes, will it go up in the future or go down? It's going to go up? Majority saying up? Let me see by hands though. Okay, we all agree taxes are going to go up, right? Okay, that means taxes are cheaper today. Is that correct? Hey, I'm a cheap guy, right? Not cheap, but I don't have that much money. So when I go to my dealers or Macy's, I want to buy a suit, guess what? I head to the sales rack because it's cheap, right? I don't know majority if some of us do so, but I do that a lot. However, if taxes are going to go up in the future, we're doing something that we don't think about. Let me give you a scenario. Let's say this that I have right here is a piece of corn, right? The seed, right? Corn seed. I'm going to give you two scenarios, and you choose one for me. So I say, this seed that I give you, scenario number 1. Pay taxes on this seed today, and then you go sow the seed. That means go invest it. You pay taxes on it, go invest it. Whatever harvest you get in the future is all yours. Scenario number 1. Scenario number 2 is, this same seed, don't pay taxes on it today. Go sow it, and whatever harvest you get, you're going to pay. I'm going to tell you how much you're going to pay in taxes because we don't know how much you're going to pay in taxes in the future. So the harvest, I'm going to tax that later. Which of the two scenarios would you want to take? You said 1, 1, 1. So we all agree we're going to take scenario number 1. We're going to pay our taxes today and enjoy the whole harvest. But what are we doing with our 401ks? You see how in practicality we get it. But guess what? We are doing the opposite, right? Now, who told us about just putting money in 401k? You see what it is by following the crowd that I told you about? Majority are doing it. So we just go. And sometimes you don't have any financial expert to also explain things to you this way. So if you are not getting the breakdown, you don't get it. However, am I saying 401k is not good? Because part of it is free money from your employers, right? Company matches it up to like 6%, 7%, whatever it is. That 7% that they match it is up to, you got to contribute all. You know why? Because that is 100% rate of return. So whatever your company is matching, get all that money. Anything extra don't make sense. As we go along, you see much better buckets that you can put that extra into. Let's keep going though. So IRA, the same thing. We're going to pay taxes on the bucket later. Roth IRA, that is option 2 that we chose. Roth IRA, anything Roth, you pay taxes on the money already, amount on your income already before you invest that. That is why whatever interest that accumulates, it's all yours. And that is option 2. However, the government is not stupid. IRS is not stupid. They make sure that you can put just about $6,500 into Roth every year. Although it's a better bucket, your limit is up to $6,500. So now, guess what? If you don't know any better and you say you want to save for retirement, which other bucket do you know? 401k, IRAs, everybody run into them. So you see, it's not by your own choice, it's by design though, right? Now look at stocks. Stocks, of course, you're going to pay taxes on the interest, right, that you make. Annuities, the same thing. Life insurance, no taxes. Bonds, no taxes. College funds, no taxes. So once again, when it comes to the issue of taxes, choose your bucket. Next principle, access to cash, penalty free, right? How do you easily get access to your cash without paying a penalty? Quick one, your checking account. Do you pay a penalty when you draw money from your checking account? The same is true for savings, right? CDs too. CDs, you gotta wait. Because everybody knows CDs, right? Certificate of deposits, right? It's time bound, right? You say, hey, I want to lock this money for a year or 2. So if 6 months' time you want to go back and get it, you're going to pay a penalty on that, right? Now 401k, you already know. You withdraw the money, you're going to pay a penalty of what? 10%. So you got to wait till 59.5. IRS, what about IRA? IRS Section 72T allows us to take what? 5% every time. So if 5% is good for you, then guess what? You don't pay any penalty. If you want more than 5%, penalty will be 10%. Roth IRA, you got to wait too. Stocks and Bitcoin, you don't have a problem with anybody. Go liquidate it and then go your way. No penalties. Annuities, you see annuities right there? It depends on where the money came from to get into the annuities bucket. If the money in the annuities bucket came from your 401k or IRA, you transferred. Over the years, I've transferred a few into the annuities bucket because they are parallel buckets. You can easily transfer. The idea is that in annuities, you never lose any penny of the money you put in there again. When the market goes up, you enjoy with the ride of the market. When the market goes down, you stay flat. So you never lose the money of whatever. So a lot of people have made me transfer money from their 401ks and IRAs into it. However, if the money that it's in the annuities bucket came from your IRA or your 401k, then those restrictions apply. So also you got to wait till 59.5 years. You see the difference? However, in the annuities, the same annuities bucket, if that money in the annuities bucket came directly from your bank account, then every year you are entitled to 10% of that money in the annuities bucket. Fair? Life insurance. Do you guys know that you can take money out of your life insurance in just the same way you take money out of your bank account? Are you guys aware? We might get to that. But term insurance, no. Depending on the kind of life insurance you have, you got to have the right kind of life insurance to be able to do that. All right? Now bonds, you got to wait. Because we have 5-year bonds, 10, 20, 25-year bonds. You've got to wait. If not, you're going to pay a hefty fine. College funds. You have college funds in the room? All right. College funds have a lot of restrictions. The first restriction, though, is the money in the college funds has to be used only for educational purposes. So let's say I'm your son, and you say, man, this guy can do good preaching the word of God. I told you, Daddy, school is no more for me. Or one of your children says, I play basketball better than LeBron James or Michael Jordan. Then you are in trouble. So, Daddy, college, no way. Those funds only have to be used for college. So now that it's not going to be used for college purposes, you want to withdraw it, you're going to pay a fine. Another thing, I don't know about the state of Georgia, though. But Virginia so far is the only state that I know that wherever the funds is contributed, you cannot move it across state lines. If you want to move it across state lines, you're going to get a fine. So check whatever kind of college funds you have so you have the decision ready made on where your kid is going to go. So if it's contributed here in Georgia, it's got to be used in either Emory University, UGA, Georgia Tech. It got to be used within the state. If not, you're going to pay a fine. So check whatever you have. So those are some kind of restrictions and penalty that are over there. So once again, guess what? Choose your bucket. We talk about compound interest, remember? Sometimes we talk about compound interest without really knowing the force that it has. This is going to show us how powerful compound interest is. Have you ever wondered why you buy a house, right? And you buy a house, let's say for $300,000. You say you're waiting to pay it off for 20 or 30 years. At the end of the time, at that time, you have paid about what? 1.2 million, right? You pay twice, if not 3 times more. You know why? Because of the power of compound interest. I completed my MBA almost 10 years ago, right? I was owing about $80,000. I paid my first 5 years. I was owing now $81,000. That makes sense, right? Pay the first 5 years, you rather owe more. It's because of the power of compound interest. That is why Albert Einstein said here that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. If you don't, what do? You pay for it. We are all paying for it, although we understand it to some extent. But let's see how it works here. So we're going to compare simple interest with compound interest. With simple interest, you only earn the percentage on the principal, right? But with compound interest, you earn interest on both the accumulated interest and also on the compound. Let's see how it works. We have 100K at 10%. That means with a simple interest, the money will be increasing